Hello, Fred Wagner here, Papa's Painting Tips. Uh, I thought we would do something a little bit, very different today, actually. Not going to do airbrush, I don't think. What I'm thinking of doing is doing a little teaching uh, about basic drawing skills. Um, I know a lot of people have had questions about how do I transfer my images for paintings such as these, and set them up. And basically, I use Camera Lucida to do a lot of my setup only because I don't want to take the time to sketch it all out by hand and eye. Um, if you use that, God bless you. Use what you need to use. However, and I know a lot of artists are going to disagree and be argumentative about this, but I'm 58 years old. I came out of an era where we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have opaque projectors to use at hand all the time. I know they had them, overhead projectors and such like that, and the opaque, prism opaque projectors. Um, and they come in very handy, especially when you're working on a substrate like a t-shirt and you can't afford to erase. It's just almost impossible to erase on a t-shirt unless you're drawing with chalk, and then you can blow the chalk off of it. But on paper and canvas, you can erase. So there is a benefit to being able to draw from reality with your own hand and eyes. And it will only make you a better artist if you can learn these skills. No one says you gotta be perfect at it, but it will help you greatly to observe shadowing around the face, the eyes, on an animal, patterns of color. If your eye doesn't see them, you're not going to translate them into your drawings and paintings. It will only make you a better artist. Um, if you're gonna, when you're doing a painting, by all means use whatever method you can. But I would highly suggest being able to draw uh, from life, um, still life, portraits. Animals are kind of hard, so you're going to have to use drawings or photographs. I'm sorry, photographs to do this. But I want to touch base on that. I want to go through just a basic lesson on your observation skills, translating it, putting it down on paper, and how to draw. Okay, let's get something up here as an example, and we'll get started. And I'll do a little basic setup. And in fact, I might even go as far as to use a little bit of Camera Lucida in with basic drawing skills as well. It'll help in setup. So let's get started. Okay? Okay, as you saw in that, I gotta make an adjustment here. As you saw in that brief little drawing part, I was using Camera Lucida. I didn't know if it recorded my voice, so I don't know. I didn't realize it was going to be in time lapse. So, anyways, this is my example that I'm working from off my iPad. I downloaded a gentleman's face. He's an actor. Don't ask me his name, I don't remember. But anyways, what I've done is I've put down on the sheet just some guidelines to start my drawing out. And let me point out what I was trying to say in the picture. The basic human head is an oval. It can be egg-shaped. It can be a perfect oval. His face is very much oval-shaped. It could be a rectangular shape with, obviously the curve for the top of the skull. The basic drawing straight-on portrait is a little more, let's say, easier in a way, because everything's going to be equally spaced and in proportion, where a 3/4 view, if it was like this or like this, would change, somewhat some of the proportions and distance between the eyes and how big. But the basic here, I've got an H pencil to start with. This is just some Strathmore Vellum series paper. I was trying to find just my normal sketch paper. I don't know where it is at the moment. But basically, your eyes are approximately half of the distance from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin. However, in this case, his head is slightly elevated, so therefore his eyes look a little bit higher. And because the angle of his head is pointing this away, the tops of his ears line up with the tops of his eyelids. Okay, you can see that line. This is the center point of his eyes. The bottom lid is this one I didn't draw in, but it's approximately right here, almost equal with this. And the shape of the eye is actually bigger. The shape of the eye is about that big underneath the skin. That's why you get the folds underneath the eyelids. His eyes are a little more prominent. And then you've got, this is the, I forget what I did. Anyways, this is the top of, okay, I did that. Alright, so anyways, and the nose is center. Usually the eyes are equal in size, so we use our pencil to measure that. That's why you see artists, when they draw from true life, they'll use their finger on the pencil, and then they'll put it up on their drawing and they'll measure. The eye, this distance is almost equal to the width of one eye. It can vary slightly, but it's usually right about equal. So you've got 3 eyes across, then there's another eye width there and another eye width there to the sides of the face. Now he's turned just a little bit, so this space is going to be a little less. Okay, the nose is in the center of this bottom circle. Okay, the face is actually a couple ovals or circles that overlap. This one comes to the bottom of the nose, as you see where I'm going around. All right, that goes to the bottom of the nose. Then you've got another circle that is intersecting here, right about the middle of the eye, and up and around. These are very general, okay? And then another circle in here for the mouth. All right, the basic shape of the skull underneath. Let's see, and if we go up to our drawing, we'll take a little measurement, his eye. So usually center of the eye to the tip of the nose. All right, as you can see there, is approximately that. You put it at the center of the eye. It's right about here, the middle, just a little bit above the middle of the nose. So his nose is a little bit longer. All right, and then you can measure. You can use your eye width to measure down the face in comparison if you're doing it straight from freehand from true life. My case, I used my Camera Lucida app to adjust those proportions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start drawing out the shapes. I tend to use my pencil on its side. I don't draw like this to the point. I may switch positions only to get a little sharper line. Okay, let's get started on this. I'm going to move the camera angle and start showing you how to lay in the shapes of the shadows, because that's how I draw. That is a basic way of laying out the image. Don't draw lines. You can draw the lines of the shapes of the shadows. So let's try to get started, and I will move this camera because I'm about to kick the leg of the tripod. Okay, I am all set up with my tripod. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to watch on an angle. That's the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I've got my excuse me, image up here. I'm gonna enlarge it so I can see better the face. First off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lighten up a few of these lines. We can leave our reference lines. I don't know why I made that one so dark. So, gonna start with the eye itself. So this, I'm gonna hold my pencil this way, and I put in my basic lines. The corner of the eye starts here. The shape of the eye is round. His eyelids kind of come up, and they do a little turn here. My hands are too shaky. I'm too old. And then down to the corner. That's the center of his eye. Now he's looking over to the side, so his pupil, no, that's the top of the eye. Alright, I am wrong here where I laid this out. His eye is not that big. Okay. And we got the eyelid there. That should be. That's what it is. Okay. I am wrong already. Let's start this over. Alright. We're going to draw in the shape, the basic line of the crease of the eyelid. Paying attention to where the curve is to the pupil. And then down. Then this other one comes off. This one's a little less curved here. Here it's a little more slanted because of the shape of his eye and where his pupils are, or his eye itself is focusing. Alright. And we're going to follow that around, and out here it kind of curves down a little more and goes around this way. Alright. Then the eyelid. You got this little tear duct here. It's more gradual because he's got a little fold in here in the eye. So I put that in there. And then his eye, because of the shape of the pupil, it's pushing up that eyelid a little, and then curving down a little more drastic out here to the corner of there. And then this turns in. Alright. And the eye is here. And that curves around the shape of that eyeball. There. And then his eye is slightly looking up, and it kind of starts almost to the center, and he's looking up, and it doesn't quite turn like so. Okay. And then his pupil, you can't see it because he's got dark brown eyes, but he's got a highlight from the lights. Now let's do the shape of this side. Generally they're about the same, so we can kind of go across, keeping that distance. And the same over here for the bottom of the lid. They're about open the same. So we can take the top of this eye, and we're going to go up from that little corner actually rounds a little more. I generally only draw this part out like this to get the true shape of the eyelids. You can do it, and this tear duct isn't as drastic as this because of the direction of his face. And it kind of turns up a little bit here. Alright. The curve of the eyelid. He's got this eye just slightly closed a little more. And this eye, being this lid's a little bit more closed than this lid, will go all the way to the bottom. And it's I'm looking at the shape of it. I'm constantly looking at my reference. Oh man, my hands are shaky anymore. I'm sorry, people. I am getting at the end of my drawing abilities. I don't know. My hands just shake too much anymore. I gotta start doing abstract. I heard you laugh. Okay, now I'm gonna draw the shape of the shadows and reference according to that eyelid. Right, this is a little bit off, so this eyelid comes a little closer, like so, and then the bottom. I'm just roughly drawing in. There's a little crease here. Alright, there's a shadow that runs down here to the corner of the nose. Now I already made my mark for the corner of the nose, so I know this shadow kind of runs like this. It's got a little to do here. Okay, and then this shadow turns this way, runs up, kind of comes in towards the center of the nose. Someone stopped out there. Now he's got quite thick eyebrows, quite large. This was the top of his eyebrow, so I'm going to make sure I keep that distance correct and following the curve of that eye. I'm just roughing this in, and I can make general adjustments. This is his eyebrow. Alright, and right here I'm looking at the eyebrow. The eyebrow kind of starts right off of the edge of this tear duct, right about there. Then he's got a shadow that is right in here. So I'm marking it real light and constantly, I'm telling you, looking at my reference. Now he's got a little line here. Okay. And then we're going to follow this up. This, we got a little shadow going that way. And we draw in the shadows. We don't draw in lines because there's no true lines in life. It's all the shadows and values and colors that make the difference. It's got a little turn here, and then it turns drastically over here. And turns around the shape of that eye and the eye socket. So kind of goes like that. And here I made the shape of his head, and we got to pay attention. The bone structure here comes down, and then see, we're going a little bit too wide, so let's move that in. And that was the outside of his ear. And I said his ear was right at the top of this eye, so it kind of, his ear comes out, rounded, and cuts back in. He's got this. And then the bottom of the ear measures out to the bottom of his nose. So it's right here. His bottom earlobes are quite round. So we're going to do round. As you can see, I'm very shaky. This is terrible. I didn't realize my hands were this shaky anymore. And then his cheek comes out like so. He's got a very round bottom of his cheek. Okay. And then we're going to put in the basic shape of the nose. We can correct all these things as we go. I mean, it's pencil. Like I said, if this were on a t-shirt, I would have to be more precise, so I'd use my projector the whole way through. Okay, the nose, we got a shadow that rides around the bottom of the nose. The tip of his nose is somewhat of a point and off center. Everyone has genetic defects in their face. No one's face is perfectly symmetrical. There's always a little difference between eye, one side of the nose, other side of the nose. Okay. So I see in the picture his nose is off a little bit over this side, a little rounder on this edge of this nostril. This side of the nose is more of a, well, they're both pretty round. So we're going to take this around. And then the nostril, we're going to guesstimate about here. And if we look up at the eye, the top of the nostril lines up with the edge of the tear duct. So we draw an imaginary line to here. So that comes up there and then starts to come down drastically. And then we've got this in here. All right. He's got a little in the lip here. I forget what that's called. Now we got the center of the mouth I drew across here. So we're just going to lightly do this in, and we're going to bring the corners of his mouth. He's got a little bit of the lip comes down there, and then come across the other side, and the lip is curving. He's got a nice round upper lip. Very full upper lip. Okay. And we're going to pay attention because he's got a little, I'm going to miss this if I don't draw it in. Kind of like that. Now this side. This curve isn't as drastic as that because of the turn of his face, but his mouth, the lip, if I look at this drawing, his lip is about, turns down right at the corner of the nose. All right. Comes down more like that. All right. Now the bottom, his bottom lip, a little harder to see, but like I said, I made that mark for the bottom on my reference drawing, and I pay attention to where these join, and it kind of comes off there. And he's got a little dent crease right to the center, then another one off to the side a little bit, and then there's just a couple reference marks so I know. All right. Now he's got a shadow underneath So I'm just going to kind of lightly draw in that shadow where it is. He's got another bigger shadow that runs across. He's got a very rough mustache and tightly shaved, but he's got mustache and beard going on here. So, but what I'm seeking right now is the shapes of these shadows, like I told you. Now, the shape of the upper jawbone to the teeth. Okay, his teeth would be kind of the skull shape here. So you got your eye socket right here and here. Then you got your cheekbone running out here, the bottom of the cheekbone coming in, and then the teeth. So that's why we get this curve coming out like this. And it generally, that crease starts from the corner of the nose. So we gotta make the top of the nose come in, if roughly to there. Then we're gonna make that line here. His is nice and round, very even. This side of the nose looks a little more up like this, right? And then we're gonna draw in this little shape of the shadow here. He's got, and then he's got another shadowy part right here on the cheek. Then there's a little shadow going on in here. Alright. And we got a shadow over here. We're always paying attention to the shapes of these shadows. If we don't, our likeness is gonna fall away and we're gonna not have an accurate drawing. Alright. We're gonna take, now the shape of the skull kind of comes in and then goes out around that eye socket, because if you remember right, your skull is coming in like this, and then the cheek, it comes back out for the cheekbone that runs around here. So that gives us the shape of the side of his face curving in at the temple because of the shape of the skull. We've got another shadow that comes up to the middle of this eyebrow, which is here, and there's a little crease in his forehead. It's right about there. Okay. And there's a little shape of a slight shadow in here. The curve of the head is setting up this shadow. And then his hairline is actually very tight. We put that there because this is the temple and this is the hairline, which comes down right about there. We're going, the bottom of that eyebrow is where this starts to curve back out. Okay. Now we got this other ear, which is starting right off the crease of this. So we got the hair. Okay, off of this eyelid. This eye is off. Needs to come up a little bit. And we gotta bring this down. Alright, and that starts the top of that ear. This ear sticks out just a little bit because of the turn of the head and the shape of his ear. Remember I said it's all different on everybody. Alright, at the bottom of here comes, see how I'm using each and every point on the eyes and that to get my reference for where my lines start, or my shadows and shapes. Alright. Now the bottom of the nose again is equal to his earlobe. He's got a nice round earlobe down here. It's more it's not really an attached earlobe, so it comes off. And then this, and we can adjust as we go along if we find our proportions are a little off. Okay, so this side we've got this is lighter. There's a little less shadow here. Okay, and this comes around, and I think I've got this a little bit too tight. I think this comes out a little more like so, and then goes to the back towards the hairline. Comes up around here. Alright, the nose is pretty much round. Comes up. And again on this side, got the nostril, got the shape of that. And we got a lighter shadow that's over here. And he's got this little shadow happening in here. Alright, my next step is I start shading in these shadows. And you start light. And this is why I hold the pencil on the side. I'm going to take advantage of some of that texture in the paper. Start to shadow in. And remember, this is just an H. This is not a real dark pencil. I couldn't find the 2H. So, we're just going to lightly work in this. He's got a couple extra darker spots in here. Just filling in these shadows, and then we'll define them a little more. I'll define them later. Shadowing this side of the face. And a little trick that you might want to do, especially when you're working with graphite pencils, is take a tissue, put it on the board. I don't have a tissue on me right now. I will get one as I go further. Alright, and his hair is dark, so we're gonna fill that in a little darker, just a little darker. We're not gonna worry about detail just yet. And his hairline comes straight, almost straight across. He's got a nice round forehead for us. Alright. Now, this is just basic. This is not hyper realistic drawing that I'm working here. This is just a basic tutorial on getting in the shapes. I don't want to go into extreme detail. Just something to help you understand the shapes of the face, the shapes, how light plays off and shadow, and then his eye, kind of. Okay, this is not so drastic, so we're gonna, there. And then color in, or shadow in the eyeball. Then we'll erase back out the highlight. I'm just filling it in nice and lightly. To get it started. And then this side, the tear duct is actually shadowed in. Okay. And then we've got a shadow under this eyelid. Comes out, rounds around. The shadow of the upper eyelid. I'm just lightly putting all this in. And then the shapes inside this ear with the shadows. And we start to pay attention to little nuances in got a little shadow coming on the ear. This all is shadowed truthfully. I'm just putting in the major dark shadows, the shapes. All right. And then inside the nose, okay, he's got a little slight shadow here. This comes down. He's got a little crease underneath here, so I put that in. Shade this in. This shadow is not as prominent. And this is where values come in, especially working in black and white and grays, gray tones. You can see value easier in black and white. Colors, in color, it's a little harder to see those values and how they change. He's got a little bit shadowing as it curves around here. And a little in here. These are secondary shadows. They're not quite as dark. So I'm going very lightly. Alright. Then under here, this is a little darker, so. And it doesn't completely fill in all of it. And then he's got a lighter shadow on his nose. Got a little more here. This side of the nose is lighter, and like I said, it's got that little bit that's off. And then again, shape of that. He's got a little shadow going on the bottom of this. Okay, and into here. And then over Right here, this shadow comes down a little more drastic, a little straighter. And this shadow comes around here. And if you notice, I'm always looking just at the shadows, and the shadows create the shape and the lines. What we would normally draw in as lines, they are not lines at all. Alright, then under the nose, this curls under. And then it kind of blends in underneath here. Like such. And it's a highlight right here. And then again, you've got the little divot in the lip where the lip connects to your upper jaw, the muscles. And you got a little bit of shadowing here. Okay, and that was my elbow cracking. Right, we got the basic eyebrow here. We got a little indentation in his forehead here. And he's got a bit of a shadow going on here. Very, very basic. And the top of his forehead kind of shadows back a little more. But this is going to give you a good reference of how to draw a portrait. I'm going rather quick. Now over this side, this is quite dark. What I will do, if I take this all the way to completion, okay, it's very dark over here. Being a little more deliberate with my pencil stroke on this side. This is the darkest part of it, the portrait, actually. Alright, the shadow underneath this coming around. Then we can, now you gotta be careful to not look at the beard yet. Yeah, look at them shadows around this jaw and lightly put them in. I didn't realize there was so much texture to this paper. Alright, he's got a little edge and shadowing how his lip turns. Okay, and then on the top side, we could use a pink eraser. We could use, oh, I hope my head's not in the way. I took away too much of that little shadow that I was putting in. Okay. Okay, like that. And we got a little shadowing going on. Let's get this crease of the mouth in. Paying attention to this part. It's the front of the lip, then the lip curves back. I can hear my dog eating down there, or at least getting mad. She doesn't want her food lately. But we. And the corner of the mouth is darker because it pushes back. And I'm working this side to this only because that way I don't smudge everything in here. We got that little edge. We can put in a couple of these crease lines so we can keep our reference to where we're at. There's another one right here. Love the shape of his lips. I mean, so much with creases and folds. What God has made so beautiful. Human being made in God's own image. Eternal. And that's what it means. We are not our own gods, but we are made in His image as eternal beings. Knowing right from wrong. Okay, this little edge up here is the shadow. It kind of blends in over here. We got some little bits of detail, and it starts to fade back in again over there. Kind of lost that. Let's open this back up. Alright, now this little shadow comes around. Let's open up that light in his eye. He's got a light there. He's got a little highlight here. And we're going to more accurately portray this. But and the eyeball itself, it's not perfectly white. There is some shadowing in it, so we can put a little bit in here. There'll be shadowing on the upper part of the eye more. Right. And let's put in the top edge of this lower lid. In like such. Okay, we can come up here and continue on with his hair.
I would if I could, but I may need a helping hand.
I don't know what she's talking about. I think my doggy may need to go out. She's kind of pacing around. I think she thinks I've left the house. Now, I'm not purposing to do curls on his hair yet. But as you can see, this is how we learn our basic knowledge and skills. by paying attention to these shadows and shapes on the face. Okay, and here kind of basic shadow that way, and we've got a little bit coming up into here. And then as this eye socket turns in, paying attention to the shadowing around the eye sockets. I know this is not Lou Gossett Jr. It's kind of not looking, because I don't have all the detail. And it's not Louis Fishburne. I'm thinking this is the gentleman that played Black Panther, but I'm not positive. Here comes my doggie. She's coming up to find out where I'm at. I am paying attention to this little turn. And there she is. Hello, princess. Where are you? You're going the wrong way. Not over there. I'm gonna have to go take care of her. I got a feeling she's gotta go out. Alright, over here we got the corner of the mouth. And then over here we got the same thing, but this is more defined. Paying attention to that shape. And the chin. I think I got this a little too round. Like I said, I'm just putting in the basic shape of these shadows. And I got another coming here. I gotta go take care of my doggie. Okay. Had to go take care. Oh, look what I did. I gotta get up for a second. I'm gonna take down the top of his head a little bit. I don't want to blow on it with my mouth because I have a tendency usually to spit on my drawings and paintings when I try to blow on it. Okay. I really wish I could put you looking from above because your perspective. Well, there you go. There's another one for the books. All my jibber jabbering and I was talking to no one. Basically what I did on the left side of This portrait I just reproduced on the right side of the portrait. Let me move you in a little bit. There, you get a better look at it. All right. So basically, you wanna pay attention to the shapes within the structure. Okay, your head, upper part of the skull, round, coming to about the nose. You've got two circular features in here around the eye sockets. Then you've got the chin, circular motion in here. And then, like I said earlier, the eyes are equal, usually. And then it's one eye width in between. And 1.5 or 2, I forget, down for the nose, into the mouth, and all that. But you just build layer upon layer with your pencil drawing. I wish I would have realized I didn't hit record when I came back upstairs earlier, because you missed out on a lot of good conversation. You didn't know you were having, ha ha ha. But here, let me do this. This is the picture I'm working from. This is my finished drawing. Well, almost finished drawing. I don't know if I'm gonna try smudge technique on this to smooth out the skin, or just keep it a rough pencil drawing. But I hope the first half of this on this side, where I was showing you the techniques I use and picking out the shadows and laying down layers of the graphite to further this drawing. I'm going to continue on with it. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me doing boring details. I may cut back in and give you even better look once I get all my values completed and everything. So I hope you've enjoyed this little instructional video. Again, I was using a pink pearl eraser, a poly eraser. This is dried out. I gotta get a new, it's a gummy eraser. I also used a Mono Zero for like in the eyes, there and there, for the highlights. On this so far, I've only used a Pro Art pencil H, as you can see there. And I used a tissue to guard so I didn't smudge it too much. I did not use smudging techniques on this. I used, again, to reiterate, I used the Camera Lucida to get down the basic structures and positioning of the eyes, the shape of the face, the width of the face, his chin, top of the head. And then I adjusted. But it was basically, you just doing your shadows to use to define the drawing. Okay, God bless you all. Thank you for joining me. I may put in a little excerpt at the, or a little moment at the end of my video to show you what the finished look is. It may stay like it is. Who knows? Okay, since we lost out on a bunch of information on here, I've made a slight decision. Okay, that thought's gonna have to hold. Okay, well, let's try this again, because as soon as I sat down, I got interrupted. I'm going to do some smudging and brush technique on this. These are not basic tools, but let's see what we can do. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. We're gonna take this a little step further. This is just a real soft brush. It'll take off some of that. So it's actually a makeup brush is all it is. And sorry about the huffing and puffing. I just brought something heavy upstairs. Alright. And I've got a pen pastel tip that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna go into some smudging, I guess. What the heck? Why not? Let's go. Let's see what we can do. Smooth out some of these ruffians. And then we can erase into it to make the skin texture. I am not a fan of smudging, just so you know. I'm not even good at it. It's kind of like brush painting. And I'm having trouble seeing. I just did what I told you I don't do. I blew at my painting. Ha ha ha. Alright. I think in this case, in this portrait, and on this paper, a smudging technique might be a good idea. Because then we can get secondary here. Move that graphite around. Then we can come back in with an eraser. This was not meant to be a pencil technique drawing, so bear with me. I'm just a little bit upset that I lost now. We really got to concentrate on value and skin texture and work in detail with the eraser instead. We'll work a reverse. And I'm paying attention to my shadowing. I've got horrible glare. Let's try that. That's a little bit better. I can see. Now I don't want to lose all that texturing I did. Now his lip, I can actually, this technique will work out even better in the lip area. Because it gives a better blend. If my one professor saw me doing this, he would have a fit. He hated smudging techniques. I kind of did too. But back then, I didn't know how to make differences in values very well. Alright, let's I'm just using this almost like a paintbrush. And I'm probably going to go in with my eraser and pull out highlights. Smudging in the eye. We can leave the hair. Actually, the texture it is and not blend that. This is just a technique a lot of people have been using for skin texture. And we'll go back in and redefine some of this. Okay. Having problem with the glare from the window, I think it is giving me troubles. Okay. So, that's just smudging that all up. Don't want to take it away from it. There's kind of a pan pastel technique where you paint in. I want to keep that rough. Okay. Let's get this under here. Okay, nice all smudged it out, or smudged, and let's do the Mono Zero eraser. Brush out those pencil lines, and let's pick out our highlights. Now we're doing subtractive. Instead of an additive, we're doing subtracting as a part of our drawing. And over here, we got the highlight on his nose. We're going to smudge back into that a little bit so it's not too bright. Okay. And we're going to take crease down. And again across the bottom of his eye. And over here. This is still not right to me. And here we can just kind of do a little marbling. Maybe. Now he's got. And you want to know the truth about something? I've never done this before. I've never worked in this technique. So, my guess is as good as yours. One thing though is I can bring out a little better highlights using this technique. I don't know if you like it better. I don't know. Like I said, I've never been a huge fan of marbling. I don't play with marbles. Up here on his forehead, we got this crease. And I'm still actually paying attention to my light and dark values. And if I take off too much, I'm going to have to go back in, obviously, and touch it up. I gotta turn that. I can had it up so you guys could see the drawing or the photograph. I'm paying somewhat close attention. To the original. This is going to have to be smudged back in because I hadn't put enough detail in there anyways into that ear. And let's see. I just feel bad because a whole lot of this drawing got lost for the video, and because my phone rang, which shuts down the video recording. not even think about it to turn the recording back on. I'm paying attention to these little bits of information in here for highlights. Pretty much just touching the drawing to take off. Being this is a vellum paper, it's it does have texture, but pull down this highlight off the bridge of his nose, because his nose really isn't flat. Now, his nose isn't as sharply highlighted either in here, so I got to move a little bit back to knock back those But, you know, this does further illustrate my point of knowing proper drawing techniques and being able to draw from life or from photographs with a free hand and not totally relying on projecting. You know, it will help. See, I can bring in all this skin texturing. By using this. This was not my original plan. This is a side shoot. Okay, let's do a little bit in his lip here, because he's got some marvelous skin folds going on his lips. I'm doing that a lot, ain't I? Trying to make up for a bugger of a situation. Stupid recording off my phone, I hate. I don't like using my phone to record videos, but the only reason I am is because someone mentioned my camcorder, even though it's a 1080p recorder, the video program on my PC only allows 720p, not 1080p. So I have to use my phone and use and I have to use my iMovie to edit and put this together. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of time in here. Basically what I'm doing is a similar situation as Clayboard and doing my airbrush illustrating and doing a subtractive technique. I'm going around here, picking out some of the highlights, following the shape and reference between certain spots. Again, I don't think it's going to be hyper realism. Hardest thing is I got so much glare coming on this. I don't know if that's in your way. I should probably check, make sure I'm still recording. Let's see what it look. Yeah. No, princess, I'm not leaving. My doggy got up. She thought I was leaving the room. That's the jingle jangling you're hearing behind me. Poor girl is she's old. 14 years, I think. And she's not eating well. If you're wondering what that noise was that just stopped, it's my heat pump outside running. Takes the moisture out of the air in the house. I know once you get below a certain temperature, you're not supposed to use the heat pump. But we're not even close to that right now. I don't know what this is. I think that's a scar in the paper that I can't get rid of. Would have been very boring anyways for you to sit there and watch me do the second half of his face. It just almost a repeat of the first half. You know, same techniques across. So okay. Open up a little bit in here. some reason the name Daniel Day is coming into my head, but I don't know if that's his name. I really should have looked it up. This is allowing actually a lot more nuances in the skin that I wasn't achieving just with the pencil. I've always seen others drawings using this technique, and yeah, I've just never employed it on my own. So this is kind of a fun little experiment. See what I can achieve. And it actually backs up what I'm talking about, having the basic drawing skills to pick out these details. It's kind of bringing fullness into the lips too. You could almost do powdered graphite, I would think, and build up your base with powdered graphite. I don't know if that's a such thing. Someone will have to comment and let me know if this makes it up on This is the most used my Mono Zero pencil has gotten. See, that's not a solid line, and that's one of the things we all make mistakes on, creating solid lines. Okay, maybe we can go in and sharpen some of this. And Curve Flush. My father-in-law downstairs, I don't know how much you can hear that, but I will try to talk over the toilet filling. Okie dokie, and then we got a little bit of highlight going on over here. Alright, let's do a little heavier lead. Not enough. I think is harder. Let's do a 6B. Sharpen her up. think I need a better sharpener. This is definitely a softer lead, I can tell. And I'll probably be working this back in. Finding it hard to see. Just putting this lead in, and I'm gonna smudge it again, but this more controlled, not so flagrant. Hope you're enjoying watching. This is Your Guess as Good as Mine radio. Paying attention to that shadow. Trying to get it the right value and shape. After all, if you don't get the right shape and value, it changes the appearance and likeness of whoever you're trying to achieve. Okay. I'm gonna have to move this because down there I cannot, with this light glaring in my face. Let's move that up. Sorry. Let's do that. Okay. That helps a little bit. Now I can see my drawing at least, and okay, we're a little bit darker in here. Coming across underneath that eyebrow. this in here. This is smoother. Not so harsh. And I don't know. We can try that brush again. I've seen the use of that brush. They blend away. Like you go in there like that, and I've seen people do the brush. Get it out here. They'll just soften it. And I'm sure this is no one I know. Or maybe.
Call from 817-485-60.
No, I have no idea who this is. So tired of it. Anymore in this life, you cannot answer your own phones.
This is Ashley White. I'm calling in reference to your student loan.
I have no student loan, Ashley White, so you are...
that have taken effect recently. If you could please be sure to...
If I have student loans left, I'm in big trouble. Because I ain't had a student loan since the 80s. I'm having a little wee bit of trouble with that light coming in from the window. Maybe I'll leave airbrush and just go back to pencil drawing. What do you think, people? Think the quality of this is there? And now can you see his likeness coming through? I can. Playing light against dark for your values in contrast. And I think this is going to be an eraser up in here. People always watch my art and my drawing and painting skills, and they ask me, what can't you do? And my reply is always, make money. And it's the truth. Art is very hard to make money at. Literally painting with this graphite off the pencil is all you're pretty much doing. And to think this started out as just a basic reference, I decided to go the extra mile on this. Dougie's back at hitting her bowl around. Not really smudging this, I'm just at the moment lifting up some of this graphite so it's not as intense. Okay, over here, we want to pick this highlight back up. There's a highlight that runs on the edge and around. His eye in there. Yes, Princess, I heard you down there batting your bowl around. I don't think I want that B pencil in there. In this spot, it's just too heavy a graphite. And then we got, this is kind of in here. Put a little more graphite down into here and bring that down around. Okay, let's lift this back up a little bit. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine in here, in this. And let's blend that back down a little bit. That was too bright. Where are you going, Princess? You can't be settled today, huh? Poor girl. You don't know what to do, where to go. Let's get his eye in there better. So much is in the effect of a portrait in the eyes. There is a lot of importance in getting the eyes right, to feeling the emotion in a portrait. So after all, you think about it, what do people look at first? Hard to see over that glare, or beyond that glare. They look at the eyes first. eyes are off, the whole portrait kind of loses its meaning. Pardon my head. Almost think I want to go with charcoal in the eye instead of just pencils. And I think this can be shadowed. The corner of that eye better. I've gotten quiet. See, I'm Chatty Cathy in the beginning. Sorry, Cathys in the world. But I'm always like this when I start to really focus on what I'm doing. Then I get quiet and I start shutting up. I may have to close my shades. Let me pull those down. I hate to reduce the amount of light in here, but yeah, it's mainly my own overhead light. I don't know if even if I'm still recording, I should check. I'm back up at 56 minutes. But it's really taken shape. we're gonna start working this forehead a little bit more. I'm gonna blend this out. At least now I can see my reference a little bit better with the shade closed. Let's see if I do a brush. Yeah, that's good for up in the head. We got a little more shape in here. Like that. And as far as I'm seeing, don't be extremely afraid or that it's gonna look out of place at first. Okay, let's darken the value and around his nose. So there's definitely a lot darker right in there because that nice crease and the shadow it causes. Really getting nitty gritty now into the dark tones. Got a little bit darker spot. Shadow on this bottom of his nose coming around like such. And then up into here. I'm gonna blend these out. They're not this dark, I'm gonna obviously need to get a new pastel, soft pastel nib. Really starting to get into the shapes around here. How far down does this one come? It's right there. Trying to keep all my values concentrated, more accurate. Now, over this side of the nose, it is darker, so I gotta blend this out a little more. And get a little more highlight going on. And then into here, there's actually a little more texture. It's not so smooth and flat. Who knows? Maybe Jesus is speaking to my heart and saying, this is where you should be going back to drawing. I have to say and admit, it is, kind of fun just working with the graphite pencil and erasers. Building up tone. And this side's not this dark. So just gonna brush some of that graphite off. And then smudging. Paying attention to these marks are. I can always erase out if I feel I've gone too far, which I do. I'm gonna just touch this over in here. Same down here. Just tapping it to take off some of that graphite. And under this nose, nobody knows. Same over here. Oh, I never did fix that. Little line here. I tell you one thing, it's a lot easier to repair a mistake on this than it is with the airbrush. Not knocking my airbrush. Alright, let's put a little more under here. This side is not as dark a value, obviously, but I'm just switching between the H and the B for his nose. You could use a Q-tip to do some of this. In fact, you don't necessarily have to have the pastel, soft pastel brush. It's for pan pastels. I should clarify that. I've never worked in them. I bought the brush actually for doing this and working with the pencil pastels, my Carbothellos. This is just drawing pencils that I got for a Christmas gift that I asked for. My daughters bought them for me. I'm gonna obviously be going back in here and re-emphasizing some of this texture on his mustache. Letting the paper do a little bit of the work in here. Soften that up a little. He does have a little bit of Louis Fishburne shape to his face. That very round structure. Okay. And then you notice I'm not doing a lot of detail over onto this side of the face because there's not a lot of depth on this side. So most of it's the opposite side, the way the lighting is. I want to eliminate all the pencils marks. I want to use them to my advantage. He's got a little more depth under here and across there. Just doing a little bit, bringing back some of these little specular highlights. Same over in here. Got to bring some of that back. Trying to see where I'm off a little, I think. I think I went in too deep in here. Same right here. I think it's a little bit. A little more like that, I think. Hard to say. Just blending that out a little bit. Do the same over here. So it looks like real hair and not just pasted onto his head. I used to always overgeneralize when it came to details in the hair and such. I would concentrate so much on the face. Oops, didn't want to do that. Just following the patterns I'm looking at on his picture. Let me take a little different perspective here. See what you're seeing. This is turning into a big, huge production. I think these are a little bit too dark. Not as far in. And I think this is a little bit too dark also. Let's take that down a little bit. Okay, yeah, it's looking pretty good, I think. I mean, I could keep fiddling with this for hours, truthfully. Trying to get it to look exact. It's just who I am inside, Mr. Photorealistic dummy. It's who I am. Alright, let's get his mouth a little closer to what it is. Since we went into all the detail for the rest, might as well do what we came to do. I went right back to hyperrealism, didn't I? paying close attention to the creases in the lip, the folds of the skin. Just to get it almost exactly right. The hardest part with graphite is it tends to be shiny. And when the light hits a certain way, it's very hard to see what you're doing. And when you take pictures of it, it's quite reflective to other surrounding lights, so it's hard to get the good depth of a drawing in a photograph. On this side, directly down from here. Now you may be thinking, well, this dude, he went to college. He was taught really good from professors and such. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't finish but not even one whole year. Just under, or maybe the equivalent of a year between going to MCC in Rochester and then RIT, because I happened to leave MCC. People wonder, why would you do that? Why would you leave college? And it wasn't really, truthfully, my idea to leave college. It was a problem. I was receiving full Pell and full TAP when I was at MCC, and they made changes to the allowances for Pell and TAP when I was there. Coming back the second year, or see, I started in semester, and then I came back the next year, and they changed to they changed Pell and TAP, the amount that you could receive, and they said I was making too much. I was receiving too much help through Pell and TAP, even though my mother was single, raising three boys, three boys and one girl. So they said, we are cutting your Pell and TAP. TAP is Tuition Assistance Program. Pell, I forget what the letters Pell would for. Public education limits. I don't remember. So, needless to say, I dropped out, went back to work full time. You know, I was doing my airbrushing at home, teaching myself how to use the airbrush. And one of my other friends said, "You should go back to school. You shouldn't be wasting your time doing all this. You gotta learn a trade or something, or go back to school and learn something to help you earn money throughout life." So I was like, okie dokie. And I was thinking fine arts wouldn't be my best money making living and allowing people to influence me. So I decided, okay, I would go into graphic design and printing field within Rochester Institute of Technology. And I was receiving $1,000 student scholarship going there, plus my Pell and Tap again. And I was receiving full Pell and Tap. And I finished the first trimester at RIT, which I started out mid-trimester because I missed the sign up at the beginning of the year, so I had to wait till second trimester to start. So I did second trimester and third trimester that year at RIT, and I was going back the second to finally complete, because not all of your credits transfer over when you go from one college to another. So I was going into my third trimester at RIT, carrying over only a little credits from MCC. And lo and behold, I got sick. So I was out for a couple days, or for a week or 2 weeks almost. And I came back into the trimester. I had some work to do to make up, obviously. And I went to my student mailbox. And to my surprise, there was a letter in my student mailbox. "Dear Mr. Wagner, because you are earning full Pell and full Tap, RIT can no longer afford you the $1,000 student scholarship to attend here. And we have cut your $1,100 student scholarship to $100. Now, you say, oh, only $100, what's the difference? And what you don't know is I had a car payment that I was paying, and other expenses, other loans that I was having to pay back. So I went to the bursar's office. I asked the bursar person, what could I do? Could I drop down my load, my class load, so that I could be part-time for temporary till the next student loan could be applied, because I wasn't allowed to take out another student loan. I already had one $2,500 student loan. And they said no, because then you would drop the part-time status and lose your Pell and Tap. you could possibly take out a bank loan. So I went to a bank. I asked them. They said, no, Mr. Wagner, your credit is too far extended because you have a car loan and you've got already an existing student loan that we can't give out another student loan until the next physical school year. So I didn't finish. I had to drop out. I was working 3 jobs as it was. I was working before school, vacuuming offices at RIT. I was working after school, or on my later days, I would work at my uncle's machine shop. And then I was also working at Ponderosa and just doing dishwashing to make some money. And so lo and behold, here I am. You say, go back to school then. It's like, yeah, no. I'm 58 years old. I don't regret a single decision. I married my wife not long after that. I met her while I was attending RIT. I moved to Florida. I had a job to go to down there doing airbrush t-shirts. I went down there for a season. Moved to Orlando next year. Came back from Florida. You say, why would I leave my dream job? Too many circumstances in that dreamy job. Yep, too many unforeseen circumstances, even in that. Worked the first season, had lots of fun doing it, but didn't make hardly any money because we kept having problems with the owner of the establishment and signage outside to let people know, hey, there's airbrushers working in here. Just cleaning up a little of this. I think I'm gonna call it on the video. I got hours left if I want to continue. Now his chin is kind of squared off here, like so. Here. Again, it comes down and then kind of squares off a little. think it actually comes in more. Let's see. Or like that. Yeah, that's more like it. Bitty, 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 bitty. Well, once again, I had a phone call come in, so I lost some time here on the video. But this is about as far as I'm going to take this drawing. So I'll move you over, give you a little bit about, whoa, a little better look. There's the image that I'm working from, and there's my drawing so far. Sorry about the shine from the light. Let's that's a horrible looking picture of it. It looks way better than that. I'm so sorry. The glare of the light is just, there we go. That's a little better. Use reflective light for the moment. And there. Not too bad. Not too bad. It's got some ways to go, but that's what smudging technique now. And I hope you enjoyed this little talk. And you know, I do see something. See, you take away, you move away for a little bit, and then you come back, and you'll notice what you got to doctor up, what you got to fix. Okay, that's a little closer. Those are tools I used, an H and a 6B in pencils. I used Mono Zero eraser, a pastel smudging tool, a makeup soft bristle brush, pink eraser, gummy eraser, and a poly whatever it was eraser. It is Strathmore vellum paper, and then my reference came from just off the internet, a picture of this gentleman. Let me see something. Says Jay Brooks. I don't think that's his name. But anyways, I'm sure you recognize him. I hope you've enjoyed this. I know the videos jumped around. I got to figure out some other way to start recording if I'm to continue, because I'm having a horrible time when I get calls coming in, and I lose my video. So as you can tell. So God bless everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching as I completed this drawing. I know it's a long video again, but hey, you learn. Take care. God bless.